All right, and then we have UTM and URL filters. So UTM stands for Unified Threat Management, and it's a device that basically is an all-in-one type of an appliance. It can contain such things as antivirus, IDS or intrusion detection systems we just talked about. It can do content or URL filtering, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a moment, and also malware detection. Okay, malware being, again, another bane of most IT people's existence, because once you get infected by malware, it's very, sometimes I should say, it's very hard to get rid of it. URL filters basically work by blocking websites based on URLs or uniform resource locators or a partial URL match. All right, they're included in some web browsers. Some are more effective than others, and they can also detect and prevent phishing. Okay, phishing we'll talk about a little bit more in just a moment, but that's another thing that's, truthfully has a high threat level when it comes to unsuspecting victims. A lot of people will look at, especially if it's crafted properly, they'll think that phishing email is legitimate, and then that's how they steal personal information and so on and so forth. Okay, we'll talk more about that in just one moment. Most browsers, the phishing filter, especially IE, used to have a specific phishing filter that's been replaced with something called the Smart Screen filter. So, a phishing example. An email that it appears to be from a legitimate source, okay, an Apple customer service in this case. It asks for your personal information or your credentials. All right. Typically, however, you'll notice that most phishing emails don't actually include your real name. All right, they just start off with "Dear Customer." That's typically a good way to identify that it's not legitimate, because if it was legitimate, they'd know who you were already. Okay, if you're one of their customers, they have you by name. And also, if you hover over the link within those phishing emails, like where I have highlighted here, click here to verify your account. If you hover over that, you'll see down at the bottom of your browser, it may have apple.co.uk in there somehow or other, but as we know, Apple ID, it's not headquartered out of the UK, it's headquartered out of the US, and it's also not Apple ID, it's just Apple. So they'll try to throw you off by adding in some additional pieces of information, but when you hover over, you typically can determine relatively quickly that it's not going to be a legitimate address.